Hello, welcome back to another SLAB talk. Um, Today, I will touch on the topic of the census. For those that are not familiar with CGC, if you go to CGC website, um, as well as heritage or GP analysis, you can get access and see the census of any given book. For the most part, if a book has not been slabbed, then there is no census. But if you're curious to see how many copies of a book in any given grade exist that has ever been graded by CGC, you can then check the census. Now, there has been a long going debate that the census is not completely correct, it's inflated, it's skewed because of the you know cracking and resubmitting that's going on, that has been going on for decades, at least a decade. CGC has been around for 16 years, so over the past 10 plus years, certainly thousands of books have been cracked, pressed, resub, or cracked and resub. And so, what happened to the census when this happened? Well, there is two things that can happen. For those that are not aware, when you let me take out a SLAB to show one example. Okay, if you crack out a SLAB and resubmit that SLAB or resubmit a SLAB, CGC then will delete that label from the census. So the census is not inflated. For example, if you have, let's do example. Let's bring out this example. This is Metal Man, issue 1, 7.5. Okay, if I resubmit this book hypothetically and it get an 8.0, okay, so just for this example's sake, what's happened is the census for 7.5 will go down by one copy and the census of 8.0 will go up by one copy, okay, assuming that I sent this SLAB in, or even if I crack out the SLAB and sent the label with the book. Now, for those that send their books to a professional presser to have the book pressed and clean and resubmit all that stuff, if the professional presser submit the old label along with the book, then the census is not tainted, it's not skewed, it's not inflated. It will register and reflect correctly, and that's the big if. Okay, and over the years there has been a lot of debates that some people don't submit the label when they crack and resub because they fear. There's many reasons. Some people think that if the graders see what the old grade was, they likely may get influence on how they regrade the book. But that's not true, because the graders, if everything works as they're supposed to, are impartial. They do not see what this book used to have. Okay, so if I crack out this book and send the old label in along with the raw book, the person that is responsible to document this into the inventory will remove the book from the census. Will remove the 7.5 from the census, and then the graders will see the raw book as it is. There is no way the grader should know that it was graded a 7.5 before. Okay, so it should not influence their decision one bit. Okay, not one bit, assuming that everything worked the way it's supposed to work. So when it comes down to the census, you know, um, I understand the concern of many collectors that they feel that the census are inflated because of the cracks press resubmit game that had been going on for 10 plus years. But from my standpoint, I don't think it is as bad as people think it is. Because ultimately, as, as a collectors, the dealers, and the flippers that are participating in this crack and resub game, it is in their best interest to resubmit the old label to not inflate the census. Okay, because inflating the census only can hurt them, can only hurt the value of the book more than help the value of the book. Because as we all know, for those that follow the SLAB market long enough, the more books there are in the census, mean that there are more copies available. Unless demand can keep up with supplies, price will be stagnate or go down. Okay, when it comes down to supplies and demand, one of the few things that I hear all the time that is somewhat not completely true is that, oh, there are thousands of books in the census, like Hope 181, perfect example, or New Mutant 98. There are thousands of books submitted, thousands of books in the census. The books is not crashing because as long as there are demand, and the demands are more than the supplies, then price will go up or at least hold up high. Okay, so when it comes down to census, you can't discuss census without including in demands, and it's not easy to include demand because census is a number. You can see a tangible numbers, and you can see it. Measuring demand is not. It's intangible. Okay, the demand can, even if you put a book up for auction, the ending price is not necessarily the true demand of that book. If you know what I'm, hopefully I make sense. Okay, hopefully what I said makes sense because, for example, for any given book, just because X amount of people want that book on any given moment when the auction for that book is ending, not every available bidders is available to bid or have the funds to bid on that book. Okay, so it's never a exact science. The value of books are very inefficient. Okay, comic books are not like stocks. The stock market is very fluid, very efficient with thousands of bidders on any given seconds. Okay, and you're talking about comic books, you're talking about a handful of bidders on a book in any given auction. It's not as if every single available collector that wants that copy is available to bid on that book on that given moment. It never is efficient. That's the nature of the beast. Okay, so when it comes down to census, supplies, and demand, all that stuff, it's always make for interesting discussion between me and some of my friends over the years, and it's it's a discussion that's ongoing because ultimately, um, you know, there is no absolute correct answer as far as what is a true demand or whether the census is correct or not, because sure, there are collectors out there that either by mistake throw away the label when they resubmit the book or when they crack out the book. So yes, for example, if you are a collector and you bought books, you bought slabs, but you prefer to keep your book raw and you crack out the book, by that act, that book should be removed from the census, but it's not, okay, because those collectors will put the book in Mylar and put the label in the Mylar, and then someday, if and when they do sell that book, they may say that it was a book in a slab that was cracked out, it was graded as X and X, whatever grade is. So there are plenty of those kind of situations floating around, and that is, one of the main example of where the census cannot capture. It can the census will never be 100% correct. Okay, that's one thing everyone can agree. Never, it can never be 100% correct. Now, whether is it overinflated by 5%, 10%, that's hard to say. I personally don't think it is huge. Okay, I don't think it is like so inflated that you can't even use the census is useless. I wouldn't say the census is useless, but I do take into consideration that for certain books, the number could be higher than the actual existence of the slab. Hopefully my jib jab makes some sense. Anyhow, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching.